Just want to thank you so much. I think I speak to both of us. You be better speak than me. But just thank you so much for coming. Lisa kind of started this, and then it kind of snowballed. But it's so good to get together with people from California. Because we live so far away so long. It's been a good time. Every 5 years, Bill and I would kind of get together, and this year we didn't feel like we could quite travel, so Lisa set this up and want to thank her for it. And I don't know what I'd like to do, first of all. I don't have any agenda. You want to talk?
I want to say something first.
Oh, I don't know. We don't have time.
Well, I guess what I think of is when Michael was over 2 days ago and he talked about all our memories from the time we were born until now, I guess, and that was so fun. But what it reminded me of was the heritage that we have through my mom and dad, through my grandparents, and through now my kids and my grandkids. I am so grateful for all of you kids for what you're doing with your families, for your passing on the heritage that God gave us so many years ago. So I just want to encourage you to keep up with that. And I too am so grateful to be here. Who knows whether we'll be here at 95 and do it again, but maybe.
Right. Yeah. And I was going to say something about that, about mom and dad. I thought about my mom and dad dating many years ago, in the tweens, and they went to a Congregational church in Plymouth Congregational Church up in Broadway in Seattle. And the custom then was, at least as I was told, my dad would go have a date on Sunday. So to go to a date on Sunday, he had to go to the home. And he'd go to the home, and then he was doing the next 2 hours as my grandfather shared scripture insights for him. So it was kind of a struggle for him that she kind of anticipated a 2 hour with the grandparents while they dating. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's the story. I don't particularly have any agenda. I think what I'd like to do is to start around and whoever the spokesman for the family introduce you all so we get to be familiar again, okay? Somebody want to start? Well, Tom, I can.
The last shall be first.
Yes.
Doug Finlayson, and I'm Sister Helen's son.
Yeah.
And my lovely wife Gina, and my son-in-law to be, we hope.
No pressure.
All your prayers would be appreciated, fasting and all, everything you can do. And then my daughter Summer. And my daughter-in-law to be Priscilla, who's marrying my son.
She's got the ring. Yeah, that's an official one.
My son Matthew, who's out to sea, because he would love to be here, because he loves family.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's missing this day.
Yeah. He loves the family event so much, and he loves you guys so much.
I know.
And he's sad to be at sea, but we're glad that Priscilla is here in his stead and with us as our future daughter-in-law and family. And then, of course, my younger son, Josh, here.
Yeah.
And we have one more daughter, Rachel, who's not with us.
That's good.
Glad to be here.
Thank you so much. It's so good to have you here. We get to get together so often. Yeah. Who's next? Going around the who?
Lisa, along with that woman, and I think that it's okay for them to eat while we talk, right?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
We don't want to be
No, go ahead.
We're gonna video it. This is my son Kobe, and his family brought him down because he just moved to Costa Mesa, so I'm happy about that. My husband Dave, we have a daughter Lindsay who lives in Sacramento, and we have a daughter Sammy who's working today in Portland. So.
Good. Thank you.
Moving on.
You should tell him what Dave's doing. He's down here too.
Dave lives in Palm Springs currently, remodeling houses there, so I'm going to Palm Springs with him.
Oh, that's hard.
I go to jump in front of your camera?
No, let's let Tom.
Okay. Tom, I'm Helen's son, and this is my wife Arlene. And we have our son Aaron, and couldn't be here today. He's working.
Yeah, I'm sorry we missed
Right.
Aaron.
He'd
Yeah.
love to be here.
Give him
Yeah.
our regards, love. Okay.
Good.
We're going to move on to Spence and I'll
Oh,
finish
really?
up.
We're
Yes.
skipping the twins, by the way. Spence, very easy family tree, single still.
It's a stick.
Single still, still straight. So we're going that one.
Michelle, did you introduce yourself? You know who you
Well, I was
are.
going to finish on down here and then come back.
Come back to
Okay.
the twins.
So I can stop this.
Oh, here we have
Michael's
Michael.
better half.
Michael's on the camera.
Okay, we'll move on to Mary Beth.
Anyways, good evening. I'm Mary Beth Hopper, Neil's oldest daughter. I'm the lone representative from my family.
Yeah.
We'd all love to be here, but we're back from doing their various responsibilities. So.
She only has 18 grandchildren that can't come.
Underachiever.
I'm Leanne Routzen. I'm Mel's second daughter, and it's been a blessing to come down.
It's been so good to have you here.
We've
Thank you so
had
much.
lots of fun
Yeah.
talking and getting together, and
Not very much.
Good.
yeah, not very much sleep, a little bit of shopping here.
You know, you gotta
Tell them
say-
what all your son and son-in-law do.
I have two sons and a son-in-law, and they are all in law enforcement. One of his is a state trooper that works with wildlife right now, and one that's in a county that's doing drug enforcement, and then another one that's does the fishing, special fish on one of the rivers in the summertime. So.
Yeah, great. Okay, and let's see, Michelle,
Okay, now,
you had
Michael
some-
and Barb.
I'm Michelle, and I am the oldest by 3 minutes. But Mike and I Mike and I are the twins, and I have 3 kids with my second husband. Ted, our oldest, is a doctor in Anchorage at the Native Hospital and getting ready to move to Seattle to do infectious disease. And then our daughter is in Missoula, and our youngest is in Valdez, works for oil spill recovery, and has a
Wow.
little 5-year-old who is selling Girl Scout cookies. And it just kind of blew my mind that she was old enough to sell Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah, our
But
first great granddaughter.
the other thing I have for, my husband could not join me because he gets every other Friday off, and this was not the Friday he had off. So he did send something to Mel and Dad that I thought I'd just take a second to read. I put him on the spot about half an hour ago and called him and said, could you please write something for Mel and Dad? So this is what he came back with. It was 1926, just a few facts. Joseph Stalin is in power. Coolidge is in the White House. Kelley Blue Book is first published. Pontiac begins making cars. Henry Ford creates 40-hour work week for his factory. And US Route 66 is first built, which will go along with the poem that my mother's going to read from someone. The first SAT is given to high school students, and sadly, Harry Houdini dies. On the brighter side, Chuck and Mel are born. Oh, and oh yes, so was Queen Elizabeth.
Oh.
Your lives were shaped by happenings around you, and you participated in the movements that would then become and shape our present and our future. The Great Depression, the New Deal, the war that would end all wars, and oh yes, several that followed. Civil rights, the age of Aquarius, the computer age, and now old age. To most of us, these are things that just are. For you, they are things that became. For the life you led, and the accomplishments that you made, and the gifts you gave. Thank you. Mel and Chuck, you have gathered a lifetime of experience and memories, and may today be full of fun and surprises. Happy 90th birthday, and we love you.
Thank you.
He's incredible. He just can.
It's
And
available by the hour. So
One thing I want to tell you though, when Dad went home and told our older sisters, Helen was 5 and Jane was 7. And he went home and he said, you know, Mom had twins, a boy and a girl. Which one do you want to keep? And they both said the boy.
And he's number 1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Michael and my wife Barbara and my daughter Megan.
Yeah.
Well, and we live here in San Diego, just about 15 minutes north.
We see a lot of them.
So we see a lot of them.
Well, I don't have any agenda.
You have a wife?
Mom has, yeah, you have to introduce your wife, and she has some.
Oh, that's right. This is my wife Edie. And let's see, we celebrated our 60th this year. Yeah. We never thought we'd get to 70 in terms of age, so we feel fortunate to be at 90 with 60 years of marriage. You know, the thing is that we worked together in an office for the Navigators in Chattanooga for a couple of years. And I thought, she's really a great woman. And I couldn't figure out why she was not married. And then I thought a little while, I said, I know why she's not married. Whoever married her be overwhelmed with all the activity. 2 weeks later, you fall apart, lie down and go to sleep. But she's very active, and I love her very much.
Well, this is a poem that's really written, not written by me, but written by someone sort of in our extended family, someone that Chuck hired to teach math up there in 1970 or 71 and has been part of our family ever since. And I called her the other day and I said, can't you dig up one of those poems that you've written? And this is what it is, but sort of a takeoff on Highway 66. Where did this one come from? Didn't think it would come. This is what I've become, Highway 90. I do things with my mind, but my body's behind, and there's things I can't find, Highway 90. Now my get up and go has gotten so slow, I've learned to say no, Highway 90. Yes, I strain just to hear, so come closer, stand near, and speak slowly and clear, Highway 90. I have thoughts in my head, but then rather instead I would stay in bed, Highway 90. There is much left undone at the setting of sun, but I'm still having fun, Highway 90. I can sleep till past 9, and a nap is just fine. It's okay to recline, Highway 90. Though my body has pain and the weight I still gain and my face looks so plain, Highway 90. I can no longer bend, but I think I'll pretend that my body will mend, Highway 90. I give God all my doubt, I have learned not to pout, and my word still has clout, Highway 90. Though my body's just clay, yet my mind can still pray, and there's joy in each day, Highway 90. Though I've dropped out of ARP, yet my mind is still sharp, put a hold on my harp, Highway 90.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear son. Happy birthday to you.
How old are you?
How old are you?
This is my husband saying you are now in your 91st year.
That's right.
Oh, good.
We are.
We're supposed to blow these out.
At
your leisure.
Yeah, we better. You ready to blow yours
Sure,
out?
right.
Okay, get ready.
Since I'm already
Ready?
91,
Go.
I'm so glad he's in his 91st year.
First.
You get one? Okay.
He used to tell everybody that he was 25 minutes over.
That's right.
Later,
That's-
my mother said, no, it's only 17. So he has to correct it.
I heard 18.
It's 18.
Mary Beth?
I'm going to tell you how I met my husband. He came to Whitworth, but I was already there. And at Whitworth during the war years, there weren't a lot of fellows, obviously. But in 1946, they all came back. And I remember I was in the choir, and there were all these men out in the auditorium, and I saw this one tall 6'3" guy, and I thought, wow, he looks handsome. And they always gave us our dinner, a sack lunch. We'd go out and play baseball in the afternoon, and then we'd have a sack lunch. So we were out playing baseball. I ran into home base, and Cliff came up and said, did anyone ever tell you that you're knock-kneed?
Oh,
That wasn't very nice.
I thought, oh, what a sentimental man.
Yes.
But anyway, that's how we connected. And we wanted to get married a year later, and Mother said, only if you finish college. So I finished we got married in 47. I finished in 48. Cliff finished in 49 and 50 for his 5th year degree. And at that time, they needed grade school teachers, not high school. You had to have experience. No more GI Bill. His folks lived in a little tiny house outside of Spokane. Mary Beth was born, and so we had her, and there was no room for us and no money. So we put a tent in the yard. Cliff, Mary Beth, and I slept there. Went into this little 500 square foot house and had meals with his mom and dad.
Oh.
He went looking for jobs. And I said, anywhere in Washington or Oregon, but not Idaho, Montana, nowhere east. I'm not going there. By August, no job. All they wanted were grade school teachers. Or he'd have to have, quote, experience. I said, how can you have experience if no one hires you? By August, we thought, we'll go borrow money. He'll get a degree in primary. The college called and said they need house parents at the Cheyenne Indian Reservation, both Crow and Cheyenne kids there, 30, to be house parents to, and he was going to teach. They didn't care whether he was secondary or what. So we put Mary Beth and everything in a 37-year car, drove there, drove and drove and drove, got there, and all these little Indian kids were around, grades 1 through high school, and I couldn't tell one from the other. But the miracle was, because my dad had a restaurant, I used to go after school and cook and help him with the salads and the desserts. So when I heard I had to cook for 30 kids, I thought I could handle it. But the one thing the superintendent said was, Mrs. Taylor, you will have to make sure that none of your high school girls got pregnant. And I thought, what? 1950, and I'm supposed to make sure? We had 17 girls and we had 13 boys. And a big living room, and then a hall down, 2 rooms for the boys, hall down upstairs, 3 rooms for the girls. But one day, 2 of the girls came in the apartment, stood on one foot and the other. I knew they wanted Cliff to leave. And they said, Mrs. Taylor, 2 of the boys are coming up at night and sitting on our bed. I said, well, I will tell Mr. Taylor. So I got hold of Cliff. He's 6'3", remember. He got hold of the boys. He slammed him against the wall. He said, I am not running a whorehouse here. If you ever do that again, you're out of here. So none of our girls got pregnant. 2 years there was a big deal. The other thing was, when we left, 2 of the boys came up and said, Mr. Taylor, wherever you go to school, can we go with you and go to white school and live with you? They had never been off the reservation. For the next 4 years, we had 2 high school boys, juniors and seniors, come and live with us and go to white school. So it opened up a whole ministry of things that I never would have thought would happen. So
Yeah.
God always has a plan.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, the other thing we told them was, you're part of the family. What we do, you do. So we always got up and went to church. We lived in a little community of a lot of Mennonite people who'd never had another native, no Asian, no Negro, no one had been there. This was a whole new thing to Lind. But the boys were really well accepted. But one Sunday morning, one of the older boys said, Mr. Taylor, I don't think I feel like going to church today. So Cliff said, fine, that's okay with me. Go get your suitcase, I'll take you to the bus. The guy couldn't believe him. So he went and got a suitcase. They started to the bus, 20 miles into Ritzville. And halfway there he said, can I have a second chance? Cliff said yes. So went back home, the guy put his things away. We never said he wouldn't do anything again after that. Well, the other thing that, we lived in so many different places. My kids had a very interesting childhood, from the Indian Reservation, 3 summers of summer school in Iowa, New Mexico, Montana, both taught in Fort Benton. Finally ended up Phoenix. Every time we moved, one of our kids came along. She came along when we were on the reservation. I remember saying to Cliff, get off. I think the doctor's going to have me go ahead and have her. You couldn't leave. There was a government school till 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. He said, but one of the Indian guys will take you. And I said, I don't want one of the Indian guys to take me. But one of the neighbors did. Cliff got off at 5, got there at 6. She came at 9 o'clock, so he didn't make it. But now we have 70 grandkids and 30 great-grandkids, 31 on the way. God has blessed us
17.
immensely. All the 17 grandkids. When Cliff passed away,
A lot of moving going on.
we had a service for him in the end of September a year ago. And all the grandkids we had then ended the service by singing Jesus Loves Me at Cliff's service. So that's the other thing we have that God has blessed us with. And with my brother, a blessing. Well, when we were growing up, he wasn't a blessing. He was a huge tease. A huge tease,
I had a
but
lot of
now
fun.
he's a blessing.
I had a lot of
Still a
fun.
teen.
Well, I want to know who was the most mischievous out of all the Bovies, because Aunt Helen and Grandma Helen.
She's told us stories.
I know.
She said that she was one of the most mischievous ones.
Oh, really?
Helen.
Oh, my.
Tell us stories.
Oh, yeah?
Mhm.
Wow. Well, we all have different stories, Gina.
Sounds like you all had fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
so what's
did.
your most memorable story of growing up?
Growing up,
Dad?
growing up, what's the story you remember about our growing up?
I have to think about that
I think
one.
you've challenged him.
But Chuck, do you have a paper route?
Not a real paper route. I had a paper route of the special ads, you know, that you take around. Yeah.
Right. So I have to apologize for my mom. She used to take money from your paper route.
Well, I didn't hear that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the old things are going. The earphones don't even help. On some
When you were
occasions.
kids, my
Yeah.
mom used to come into your room and you had your money from your route.
Oh.
You would sneak
I
pennies and
probably
nickels
did.
and go buy chocolate.
That's
Yeah.
that's the story I remember.
Yes.
So you didn't
I don't
even
remember
miss
that.
Wow.
it. Confessed you.
I
We
quit.
had some boys that did, we had some boys that did that
Wow.
You gotta get some payback with interest.
Right.
too. That's right.
Well, I don't know all the stories, but Helen might have told on me, or Jane, or Mel.
She just told stories about herself.
Yeah.
We used to go to the island every summer. Dad would take the boat and go to work. We'd all stay there. And Mother had a little friend. And so one morning we all got up and Mother said, Charles and Mary Lois, we're all going for a walk on the beach. Be sure and bring your sandals and we'll all go for a walk. So
When she called me Charles, there was something important.
So we started walking on the beach, and the mother and the other were in front of us, and she turned around, and I was gone. And she said, Charles, where is Mary Lois? He said, well, she went back to get my sandals. And Mother said, Charles, I told you to bring your sandals with you. Why would she do that? He said, well, I gave her a lick on my sucker when she left. I'll give her another lick when she comes back. And I fell for it. Oh, and then the snake. That was on 18th. Out, you know, we played outside till the light got dark. Then we went inside in the afternoon. I kept feeling something on the back of my leg. And I finally turned around and he had a snake and he was rubbing it along my leg, which I screamed. Then he went in and Mother was on the phone talking to Grandma and he started wiggling it in front of her and she started screaming. So I grew up with nothing but screaming out of all the things he did, I think.
The story I remember is he made you take your clothes off and go down the road.
What?
He made you take your clothes off and go down the road.
That was when we were babies. We went out.
Last week was just crazy.
We went outside for a suntan with our diapers on, and the fence was like this. And so Chuck said, take your pants off, we're gonna go down the street. And I said, what? Take your pants off, we're going down the streets. So I took my pants off, we climbed over the fence, and we started running down Naomi Place down to 63rd. And the lady helping Mother started across and started screaming. And I came back and he kept right on running all the way down to the highway. I don't know whether whether she had to run after him or not. Yeah, that was another one. No one's had a brother like Chuck to grow up with, I'll tell you. Right, Chuck?
Right. I'm pretty nice.
Oh dear. They'd all go fishing out there in the Sound. Something would always go wrong. Chuck would be dying laughing, and my dad was almost swearing. But he always thought funny, and anything that happened, whether you lose the oar lock, whether you can't drive, whether the motor stops, he thought it was hysterical. But not Dad.
Well, I might as well tell the whole story.
Go ahead. I knew it'd start you.
I need a napkin and a spoon.
Here you go.
Anyway, we lived on this island in an old farmhouse, and there were 3 bedrooms upstairs, and the stairs coming down into the bedroom below, but they were very narrow and very steep. And my uncle Herb and his son Don were coming out to fish. The first thing that happened, my uncle stepped out on the stairway and hit the bottom floor because it was so steep he had not adjusted to it. So we got up early in the morning. The way we fished for salmon in those days was you'd take your boat out and I'll explain that. We had a 2-cycle outboard motor, and we'd take that with us, and then we'd go rent a 12-foot skiff that had a broad beam in order to hold the 4 of us and whatever else. And so you go out over Puget Sound, and you try and find a place that had a sand bottom. There was a lot of places to find. The way to fish is you put a herring on your hook, and you drop it until it hit the bottom. And then you would strip it coming in like this. So as the fish came up through the water, you could see the fish come up and actually take the bait. Well, we'd been fishing this place was supposed to be a sandbar, and no fish. So Dad said, well, why don't you start the motor, we'll go find another place. So I go to start the motor and it won't start. He says, well, why don't you take the spark plugs out? Just shine them up a little bit. So I go to take the spark plug out, and I'm working on mine. And my cousin comes up and says, help me. So he picks up a spark plug and drops it overboard, inadvertently. He didn't do it, obviously, intentional. And so I get to laughing. And I'm laughing and laughing, and they're getting madder and madder at me. And, well, I said, you tell somebody on Monday about this story, and you'll be laughing. Why don't you laugh now? They said, well, quit laughing and put the spark plug spare spark plug back into this other spark plug place. Well, I said, that's why I'm laughing, because that spark plug's on the kitchen table. So they found, they still didn't laugh. If you think it's so funny, get on the oars. Well, you know, a beam on a 12-foot skiff is pretty wide. So I'm working on these 2 oars, and said to Don, well, Don, you better go over and help him. So we go along, it both took a little while. And he's a little ahead of me, so I pulled through, so it broke the oar.
Oh, no.
Oh, they were really unhappy with me. And I just couldn't keep from laughing. It was just So we floated over close to somebody else that had a spark plug and got a spare spark plug to put in and go back home because it was too late because Dad had to get home by 8 o'clock. Mother was not going to milk the cow. I'm sure that wasn't very thoughtful of me, but I couldn't help but laugh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your,
Oh, yeah, they might not know
you
about
may not
this.
know the gold rush in Dawson City.
Yeah,
This would be
explain what
good.
that was.
Your
Yeah.
mother, right?
You may not know
Yeah, a
this.
long time ago.
I've heard these stories so many times, I could tell it as if it
Why
was
don't
my
you?
own.
Why don't you?
But
They've been monopolizing the day.
Maybe you could tell the
No,
story.
go ahead.
Well, grandfather T. Roller went up in 1897 to Dawson in Alaska for the gold rush days. And there were 2 ways to get up from Skagway. One was up, what do they call the hill? What's
Chilka
it?
Trail?
Yeah.
The one was this White Pass Way, and the other one was the one that more familiar. Which one is it, Michael?
No, I think Chilcoot, Spencer's.
Chilcoot Trail.
And then the White Pass, I think it was.
What was it?
Chilcoot Trail.
Yeah, Chilcoot Trail was the other one. And that was the harder one because it was very steep and you had to take all your swords with you. But I understand my grandfather, our grandfather, went up the White Pass, which is out of Skagway, straight up. And then in 1900, my grandmother, along with her only son, and my mother, who was the youngest, went up on it. They had 3 other girls that were sent east to go to school. But they went up to the mouth of the Yukon and took a paddle wheel ship up to Dawson. And then in 1903, they came down the White Pass. They, by then, had put a railroad in there. So that's kind of interesting, but we've never gotten any good history on that.
But he was not he didn't go up as a gold miner. And that's what our first question was, did you have a gold mine?
We don't
Did you get
know.
gold?
We don't know if he had.
And he had
chickens.
Well, he was part owner.
Also profitable.
Golden chickens.
He was part owner of a gold mine, but he didn't do it. He evidently went up as a government representative and was in a store, and I don't know whether I don't know what he represented, but he evidently was an officer of some kind. But he wasn't really one of these gold miners, which would have been much more exciting and maybe profitable, maybe.
And we probably didn't know because certainly wasn't interested at that time, but he died when we were 26.
But I think it's interesting if you have children that are the age of studying, the gold rush, for them to realize that they had a great-grandfather, whatever the relationship is, that was up there.
Chicken out. Mel, did you have recollections of that, Mel?
I'm through. I said everything.
Get her a cupcake.
It's you guys' turn to tell all the stories now.
So Mel, one of the things that's hard for Mom and Dad these days is to get to the store to buy a card. And so I try to buy cards for them.
You do the good
So
job.
Dad has a card for you that I think is so typical of Dad.
He does. I have a
might wanna
card.
read it.
I have a card for him that I think is also very typical, but my girls helped find it.
Oh, good. Well, we would like you to share those cards because we just think they're so cute.
That'd
Would
be
you feel
fine.
comfortable sharing those?
Do you know which one?
No, is that it?
I don't know. Do you remember which one?
I think that's the one from Dad.
Is that the
I
one?
think that's the one from him.
Do you want me to read it, or do you want him to read it?
No, I can't read.
That's a great expression.
That's one of the problems.
Did you know you bought this?
Yes.
Keep your friends
He doesn't like
close
those ice cream down.
and your sister closer. When I need an honest advice, a hug, a good laugh, without fail, you're there. My life is better because you're in it. Did you find that? Honey, how nice. Mine's a little goofier. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was there for him. For you, Chuck. Do you want to read? No, you can't read it. Okay.
Whisper in your ear, Dad.
Looks like Halloween.
Okay, I'll try not to imitate what's on the front. It's a child sticking his tongue out, and then a mother or two, I guess it's a girl and a boy walking down this beach. For someone who used to pull my hair, shoot rubber bands at me, get on my nerves, tease me about everything, and embarrass me in front of my friends, don't worry, I'm getting around to the good part. You turned out to be a great guy and a great friend. Happy birthday from your sister who loved you a lot. So that is true to the point. We went to visit Chuck and Mel's mother. You all know how she's related to you. And she was in this retirement home in a wheelchair. And I started tearing up because I'd never been in a situation like that. And Chuck was going to help her eat her lunch. And he was spooning something into her mouth. And she said, "Don't tease me, Chuck, don't tease me." So I knew right then what was like looking like.
She had dementia.
Yeah.
You don't do that to
I
mom
love
now,
to
right,
laugh.
Dad?
She loved to laugh.
What did he say?
You don't do that to mom.
No,
Oh,
never.
no.
Or vice versa.